Okay, so here's what's really, really cool. Hello, this is Dale Maxwell, Kickassery, and I told you guys we had something super, super cool that might happen this week, and look at what I have. I have coolness right here. You guys all know John, you guys all know Matt, and who are you again?
Theresa Miller.
So Theresa has been doing a ton of comments and whatnot. So why is this so cool? For one, I'm in Salmon, Idaho. I'm home, and this is awesome. It wasn't supposed to happen. I'm supposed to be up in Montana, and we decided to drive through anyway. So this has worked out really, really well. And we've been debating on doing like a round robin Kickassery anyway, where we get all these guys on here to talk about publishing, and we talk about all of the writing stuff. And I'm like, so what are you guys doing tomorrow? And so here we are. So real quick, once again, introduce yourself. I kind of sort of introduced you guys, but let's do a real quick introduction. Who are you? What do you do? And then let's share a little bit about your writing group and how you go about doing your writing process and self-publishing a little bit or whatever. So, and I'm sure we'll get off on all sorts of wacky tangents. So who are you?
All right, well, I've been on here before. My name's John Logan. The fabulous building that is hosting this Kickassery is my day job. This is part of the Lemhi County Historical Society Museum. It is our river exhibit. I'm super fortunate to work here every day. As far as my writing goes, I'm still in the not yet published category, but these two here are helping me out with that. So that's who I am.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Theresa, and the three of us are part of Salmon Wordsmiths. We're a writers group that meets right here in this building every Tuesday night. And as far as my writing, I have 2 flash fictions published, and I write a column for a publication called Goat Journal. And I have finished the rough draft of my first novel, and I'm currently editing that.
Wow. Wow.
Awesome.
All right, pretty boy.
I'm Matt LaMonte, and I've been on here with Dale a couple times actually. I just recently published my first motivational book, and he was kind enough to have me on here and talk about that. I've also published a couple of children's books, and I write 2 blogs currently, and they're at Idaho Doesn't Suck and My Success Immersion. So
I love your Idaho Doesn't Suck. Yeah, I love it. Absolutely love it. Okay, so let's just start off. Okay, so you guys have a writing group. Is this like a peer support group? Do you guys have like assignments that you do? How does that work? I mean, do you just get around and BS for an hour? What's the process?
Well, we started out just getting together and BSing. He brought beer to the very first one, and so we would drink beer and talk. And eventually we decided maybe we should, have a structure so that we could do something besides drink beer. Yes, there's nothing wrong with that. So we did the structure where we have the exercise, we have an education, and then we share words and critique each other's work, and we talk about what we're working on and try to help each other out. We do.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think the drive of the group is to, find a group of people in an isolated community that share a very particular interest, especially for this community. So it was dumb luck that I figured out that Theresa wanted to grow up and be a writer as well. And more dumb luck to find Matt one day at the park with an interest in writing. So yeah, I think the idea is just, all ships rise on the same tide, and if we can help each other out in Salmon, Idaho, let's do that.
So is Matt sleeping in the park? I mean, I actually need to know more about this.
it's kind of funny because I was interested in, being part of a writers group or, an entrepreneurial group or something like that. So I, Facebook, wasn't it? I put an ad on Facebook, and John responded, and so I met up with him, and I said, hey, I'd like to start a writers group, and he says, we have one. We just meet back here on Tuesday. You can come if you want. So I'm actually.
By the way,
I'm actually pretty new to the group. I've come for
almost a year now.
Yeah.
So not that new.
Yeah.
New relative, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But it has helped us, I think. all of us.
Yeah, it's helped me a ton.
Teresa's a published author in a actual newsstand magazine now, so that's really cool. So
That's crazy. Okay, so genres. What, goat journal, goat?
Yeah, well, okay, so my fun for me writing is fantasy. My novel has fairies in it.
Okay.
There's a fairy portal in cabin outside Idaho City, Idaho.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think I've been there twice.
The fairy portal? Or
We're not gonna. That
They're
underworld.
so cute.
there's comments.
There's comments. Oh, we're learning so much. Okay, so your fantasy novel.
Right, and the two flat fictions that I have done are both in the fantasy genre.
Awesome.
One was sort of horror, and one was cutesy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And then one of the ladies that was running the group that put these two anthologies together that I published in, later on, she became the editor of Goat Journal, and she got a hold of me and said, how would you like to write on a regular basis?
Nice.
So she was looking for somebody, not necessarily that was a goat expert, because she has a lot of those, but somebody who's just a writer. So I interview people and I find out things. So I'm an investigative goat journalist. Because
why not?
Heard it here.
Yeah.
yeah, the biggest thing that's different between the goat writing and the fantasy writing is the goat writing pays me money.
There you go.
Yeah.
So that's
Very cool.
absolutely. Okay, genre.
So I'm self-development and humor.
Okay.
I started
They go
out
together very
as
well.
they do.
Yeah, they do.
I started out as wanting to write humor, and then I got to the point in my life where I wanted to change some things about myself, and that's when I started focusing on self-improvement, self-development.
And your children's books are self-help kind of
Yeah.
improvement as well, right?
Yep. It's basically trying to teach, the characteristics that are necessary for success in life to very young children.
Awesome.
It's kind of a real simple book.
Very cool. Very cool. Genre.
So I'm lumping with Theresa here in the fantasy genre.
Is your fairies in a different town? Or?
Yeah, a stricter fantasy.
High
Fantasy with Tolkien and
Ah.
C.S. Lewis type, big epic type stuff, or comic books. There's, as always, we're going to pull back on the reins here, and I'm going to say a limited amount, but my other writing endeavor would be superhero comic books.
Okay. All right. And you've been teaching.
I have been. I'm going back for round 3 this Thursday with the AP English class. I've presented once on sort of the history of superheroes in American pop culture starting in 1938. The second one was based more on the psychology of superheroes, why they work to tell us the stories we need to be told over the last 80 years. Why have they replaced Paul Bunyan and John Henry, Pecos Bill as the American mythos? And then step 3 will be, I will be presenting to the class a superhero that I have made from scratch, and showing them, symbolism, what does that mean when you include it, mission, how does the mission of your hero affect how readers accept or connect with that hero? And then round 4, the class will present to me as a judge, as a prospective buyer for the superhero.
Okay.
And that's pretty cool. So that's what I've been doing recently in the superhero realm.
That is super cool. All right, so guys, what I do want to throw on the table here is, throw it on the table, is this is already, and this is going to be some amazing information. So if you are a writer, or you want to be a writer, or you know of writers, I ask for you to share this to them, so then that way they can learn as well. I have to say, these guys are normal people. They're awesome people. They're intelligent people. So the point is that we can do this, right? And so I need you to share that, please. And if you have specific questions for them, let's throw that down in the comments. I'll keep an eye on everything. So throw it down in the comments so that we ask them specific questions. If not, this is going to turn into a BS session, and it's just going to go off the rails. We were never on the rails, but we're going to try to keep it on there. So I'm going to kind of keep track of that on this. But so how did you, any of you, how did you know that you wanted to be a writer? I mean, let's be honest, where we're from, where we went to school, this is not something that is top of mind here in this community. For me, at least, and those that I've hung out with, it's not like, I'm going to be a writer. It's not top of mind here. So how did you guys decide that that's what you're going to do and jump into the pool?
You know, for me, I've always sort of been creative, you know, little story writing, drawing, some poetry, and I just really enjoy the process. And you know, when I get a good response from people who read my blogs or my articles, it really makes me feel, you know, like I'm doing something that matters. And so I think that's what it is for me. It's just fills a need that I have to, you know, put my thoughts down on paper.
Okay. Awesome.
Well, I moved here when I was 9 from Missoula, and I didn't fit in at all. And I already was a major reader, a major bookworm, and so I really retreated into my stories, and just stories became really, really important to me. And that's when I thought, you know, I want to be not only a reader but a writer. And I didn't do anything with it for a really, really, really long time, but that's always sort of been in the background for me.
Awesome.
Yeah, for me, I've always done this. My grandma still has in a scrapbook the first story I wrote about a wizard when I was in the 2nd grade on the lined hand penmanship paper, right? Like, this has always been something I've done. And I like what you said, how we are just normal people. There's some confusion about, oh, you have to be genetically coded to be able to write. And I firmly don't agree with that. This is a craft. This is a skill set that you can practice. And that's part of why we meet every week, is so we can hold each other accountable for that practice. And it's just like carrying around a toolbox. My grammar tool in my writing toolbox sucks. Well, I have Matt and Theresa who maybe their grammar tool's a little sharper, and they're like, oh, you jump tenses, or your verb and your subject don't agree, and we're all past that now, but we have those checks against each other to help each other work through that sort of stuff. So I've always wanted to be a writer, yeah.
For what it's worth, what you just said isn't even in my toolbox, because I have no idea what you just said.
Well, and I want to come back to that, because you see a lot of memes online where they're saying, you know, writers do this, or real writers do this, or real writers feel this way, or, you know, if you have this, that means you're a writer, whether it's an emotional thing or a way of thinking about things. And those bother me because they're not true. Yeah. A writer writes. That's it. That's what makes a writer. If you write, you're a writer.
Some days it comes easy. Some days it comes really hard. Sometimes it's amazing what you put on paper, and sometimes you don't show it to anybody because it's hard. But everybody, I think, has a story to share, a story to tell, an experience, or
yeah. My love of language is a part of it for me. I love the English language. I love all of its weirdness. I love the fact we just went around and mugged other languages and like dug through their pockets and said, oh, as a language, we're going to take this and this from you, and we're going to mug you in this alley, and we're going to take this and this from you. And look, Spanish is over there drinking. We're going to mug him real quick, and we're going to take all this from Spanish. But English, I love it. It's absolutely fascinating to me. And I love being able to tell stories in that media with those words. So yeah, it's part of it is the love of the language.
There you go. So there's someone called Jennifer LaMonte. I'm not sure.
Hi, Jennifer.
Matt, what are your children's books called again?
she's trying to get a
Shameless
Yes,
plug.
yep, there it is. I just had to. I saw it. I'm like, yep, we'll do it.
It's the Molly series. There's Molly is grateful, Molly has a positive attitude, and Molly sets a goal. So
And who's Molly? Is that
is a little girl that I drew,
Okay.
and she.
Now is Molly a real someone out of your history?
No.
Or is it completely?
Yep, it's made up.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. I was waiting for, the invisible friend childhood thing or something. I don't know.
It may have been. That's possible.
I hit my head. I don't know.
No, that was me.
That was you. I'm getting my stories all mixed up. Okay, so, all right. You say writing's a skill, it's a craft that can be developed.
Absolutely.
And all of the idiosyncrasies that go with it. Now, I'm in the process of writing a book as well. And that's why this fascinates me, because I'm in the process. My process has only taken 20 years. So, but what I'm finding is I'm an orator. I'm a speaker. And it's easy for me to flow those thoughts, and I can speak it very well. Thus, this whole process, right? People tell me to shut up all the time. So with that, though, is I find it easier for myself to speak it, record it, video it, do whatever, and then have it transcripted. So can I call myself a writer?
Yep, absolutely. I don't think the process matters, and the process is changing with technology. It's inescapable. None of us sit around and banging out on a typewriter. Well, maybe on Saturday nights.
Cramp.
Yeah, there's many different ways to do the process, and everybody has their own. But that's writing.
Okay.
The way you're doing it, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
I feel like I'm cheating. To be honest with you, I feel like I'm cheating.
If you find a cheat that works for you, do it.
Do it.
Yeah.
Exploit it.
Yeah.
Do it more. Yeah.
It's
You
like
need
finding
to
the cheat
feel
codes
like
in a
an
game.
artist.
Just like do it. Yeah. Like an Artist is a great book.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, and I call it more of a hack than a cheat,
Yeah.
really, honestly,
Right.
is that I know that I can sit down and I can write, but my brain works way faster than my pen, and it works way faster than so by being able to speak sometimes,
Just like that.
yeah, then I can get my thoughts out and then transcribe it over and do that process. So what is the hardest part for you guys? What is the most difficult part is it coming up with the concept? Is it coming up with the outline? Is it putting on paper? Is it getting it in front of people? What's the hardest? I'm sure we all have different challenges. What are your specific challenge? Everyone,
I'll go.
apparently,
I'll go
first.
My specific challenge is finding the time to sit in a chair and write.
Okay.
And that is at writer workshops, when you read a book about writing your first novel, that's going to be in bold print. To be a writer, you have to find the time to sit down and write.
Button share.
Yep.
On keyboards.
Okay.
So that's my biggest problem. Concepts I will do. I can sit here and in 12 minutes be ready to go with a rough outline and a brand new world to spew thoughts and ideas and characters into. That's one of my strengths, is those big picture, big conflicts. That's where I really enjoy the process, is that initial creation, the follow through of then getting that into a novel series of events, is the struggle, is the work for me.
For you, what's your struggle?
Well, I'm finding that as I develop as a writer, what's hard for me or what my struggle is changes. So my very first difficult one was, if you ever followed along with something on the radio and sung it in your mind, and you sound awesome in your mind, and then you open your mouth and you don't sound like that. That's how beginning writing is you have this great idea and it's beautiful and it's wonderful, and you write it down and it's so bad. And to keep going when what you're putting out is terrible was the hardest thing for me, and that's what taught me for a really, really long time. And even now, sort of, I have times when I'm looking at what I've written and I'm like, this is great, and I have a times when I'm like, this is the most wonderful ever written by mankind. No, wait, I read that one thing, it wasn't as bad as that, but so I also, time management is difficult for me.
Okay.
But
because we all have lives, we all
Yes.
have things going on. This isn't like, is this a full-time gig for any of it?
No, not even close.
Nope.
No, right? Okay.
This is my third job.
So what's your hardest part?
So for me, I would have to say focus, avoiding distractions, because I try and get up every morning to write, and sometimes I'm successful and sometimes I'm not. But I mean, I'll be going or writing in a notebook, and then I'll look something up on my phone, and then I'll see that I have a Facebook notification, and then I got to get back to it, and then I'll lose my train of thought. And so focus and, just being a consistent producer is probably the hardest for me.
I think a lot of us have that, especially for those of us who are like the serial entrepreneurs or the achievers, because we want to do so many things. I'm the same way. I struggle with that. I have probably 5 different things going on right now, and I struggle with that across the board, not just with my writing, which my writing, unfortunately, has kind of taken a back burner because I've got other stuff that has jumped in and priorities have realigned. So I think, well, let me ask you this, does it come down to goal setting your minor goals to fulfill your larger ones, prioritizing it, and then just setting your daily schedule? But how do we do that when we have 15 things going on?
That's a problem. That's an issue for me, because not only am I supposed to be writing blogs, but I'm working on a couple of books and other projects, and so sometimes I'll go to write and I'm like, I don't feel like writing, so I'll work on something else. And so I have a problem setting priorities. And
okay.
Need to figure that out.
So the man who writes about
See, I'm work in progress.
Work in progress. And and for what it's worth, Matt, that's one thing I really respect about you as well, is that you put it on the table and you're like, listen, this is what I've done to get to where I'm at, and I still have more work to do. And I really respect that. Now if we hear John, he says that he's got everything figured out, and there's no problem whatsoever.
For sure.
So we all have to look up to
Every day.
the only reason we look up to John is because okay, so more questions. If you guys have specific questions for these guys, we have them here. They're here, right? So if you want your stuff answered live, this is where we're at. If not, if you guys are catching this on the replay, still ask questions, because I know these guys are going to be very active in the comment section for the next couple of weeks to be able to answer questions. I hope you guys also, in the comments when we're all finished, put where we can find all your works, how we can get a hold of you, how we can support you as well. Matt, with your red book right now, I dare you to succeed. Absolutely. Yeah. I've been getting some comments back specifically because you gave some of the ass kickers out there some books, and they're coming back to me saying, dude, this is awesome. So you're doing it, man. And this is why we do this. This is why Kick-Assery is here, is because we get to talk to the people who are doing it. And I have a tendency, and I'm working through this, but I have a tendency of putting people up on a pedestal. I have this tendency of saying, oh my gosh, Matt is a published author. He's done 4 or 5 books. I can't talk to Matt because Matt has done it and I haven't. So I have this tendency of putting people up on pedestals. The more I'm being self-respectful to my own abilities, I'm like, no, we're all freaking people. Yeah. We all got crap that's going on. We're all putting our pants on one leg at a time, unless you're that talented. I'm not a gymnast, so I can't do both at the same time, break something. So that's what's really cool about this, is that you guys are willing to sit down, talk about what works, what doesn't work, and be open to a community to ask you questions. Oh, by the way, that's how this works.
Yeah.
Is it?
Okay,
right.
so
Good to know.
No, and it's really cool being involved and interacting with you and some of your network.
It's been really incredible. It has been so incredible what this has kind of turned into, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's so incredible. I'm like, it's wacky to me because I get comments or people call me like, dude, you've got some really cool friends. I'm like, dude, I've got some really cool friends. And it is, and this network is just growing. It just keeps getting bigger, and it's been really cool.
So I've got a question for Matt. How much did Writers Group help you with I Dare You to Succeed?
A lot. Not only did you guys, read some of my stuff and critique it, but I had to put up because I said that I was going to do stuff and get stuff done. And just being around people who are writing and who are so much smarter than me helps. Because no, seriously, my writing, I feel like it is improving. Just writing with these guys and doing the exercises, and a lot of the times they're like self-help stuff again. Why
don't you ever write anything funny?
Don't you make your self-help stuff more
No,
funny, Matt?
they're very supportive and they are fantastic.
You said something that these two kind of laughed at you about being around people smarter than you. And if you look at John Maxwell, Robert Kiyosaki, you look at a lot of leadership developers, that's what they say. They say, surround yourself with people who are smarter than you.
Oh, yeah.
And that may not mean that they're more intelligent. They may not have a higher IQ than you. But what it means is that they have skill sets you lack in. They have strengths that you have weaknesses in. And so whether you're trying to overcome a weakness or you're trying to bolster your strengths, if you're around people who have their strength level is better than you, then of course you're going to have to put up or shut up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember, this is a weird analogy, but snowboarding. I did a little bit of competition skiing and snowboarding when I was in high school. Well, if I was riding with the crew I always rode with, we were always going to be the same because nobody was better than anyone else. We pushed each other, but I didn't have to chase anybody. But my buddy, Kurt Chester, he's actually been on here. Holy dude, whoa! I was on the edge.
I didn't ski with Kurt because I couldn't keep up.
Couldn't keep up.
I'm like,
there was
see you later,
there was
dude.
no chance. Whether he was skiing or snowboarding, there was no chance. And so just for me to try to keep up, I was on the very edge. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. I had to be on the edge of control just to try to keep up. And he was slowing down for me, right? And so every time I rode with him, I got way better because I had to push myself beyond so that I can do it. And I love being around people who are smarter than me. I love sitting in the chair talking to you people because when it comes to writing and publishing and things like that, I'm an infant. I'm still trying to figure out how to crawl. And you guys have done it.
And that's how you get better, is by being around people who help you to stretch and grow.
Absolutely.
And people who care enough about the process or your project who can get involved and be able to give advice, like when I'm reading, something, we're going over some of my words, and these two are saying, that wouldn't really work physically. How about if you cut the person here instead? Or this isn't what the police would do. Or, if a first responder came and saw the situation, you didn't describe it right.
Right.
Or, that kind of stuff. So it's really cool to have people with different life experiences to be able to say, you got that wrong.
That's right. That's awesome. And it does give you, and I'm excited to get to the point in my book where I can start sharing, and I hope you guys are okay with it. I'm planning on sharing some of this with you guys.
Oh, you bet.
Please do.
Absolutely.
So then that way, because once again, it's being written how I speak. And I feel like I'm an okay speaker, talker, speaker who's kind of whatever. At the same time, though, that I don't speak grammatically correct. So I'm looking forward to having that feedback and whatnot.
So you know where that point is when you get to that point. When you have more than 2 sentences in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'll have a 1.5. So I'm still working on it.
Get on it.
I got a little bit more work to get there. No, actually, I just got back. Chrissy actually is is doing my ghostwriting for, so I talk and then she's putting it all together. And I actually got the first chapter back and I was so excited. I'm like, awesome. And then I saw it was the About Me chapter. I'm like, do I want to read about myself? And she did a great job. And so we're doing a little tweaks here and there, but I had a chapter of a book.
How exciting.
Very cool.
How
That's
freaking
great.
cool is that?
That's wonderful.
It's progress.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's exciting.
So Summer, who is an awesome supporter, she's like, dang it, I'm driving, so I just caught a little of this. This is so fun. I'm so jealous. She says, hello, Don, John, Dale, Theresa, and Matt. So she's huge. So with all that if you have a suggestion, is there anything that we shouldn't do as writers? Is there pitfalls or something that you're like, probably shouldn't go that way, probably shouldn't do that? Or is it just sit down and do it?
Don't worry about that. Theresa has kindly drummed up a set of initials, SFD,
Yes.
right? SFD, first draft.
Okay.
Do not worry about the quality of what you're writing the first time you write it.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. It's any word on a page is better than no word on a page if you're going to be a writer.
And you can't edit a blank page. And I had this where I really, really worried and fussed and tried to make everything perfect in this one scene. And then later the whole scene was deleted because it didn't fit the story.
You scrapped it anyway.
Yeah, because so you need to get bones out first. You need to figure out what you're doing. You need to get the bones out. You need to write from beginning to end and then go back and fix and fix and fix.
Now, can you overfix?
I don't know yet. I'm still working on it.
I don't know. I think writing evolves, and you might write something and then come back to it and be like, I don't like the way that sounds, and change it. I don't know if you can overfix.
Okay.
I think that
You can overfix right up until your deadline when you want that paycheck.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I mean, at the end of the day, if you're looking at this from a monetary, money-making perspective, you figure out the process to turn that in on deadline and get a paycheck.
There you go.
Good writing happens on revision.
Okay.
It's the first thing you need to do is write. Like John says, 1 is greater than 0. 1 word
One
is
is
more than none. 1 sentence, 1 paragraph, 1 page, and you just build on it.
Well, there's one other thing that I feel is terrible writing advice, and you hear it everywhere, and that is write what you know. And the reason that's terrible is because people like me go for years and years going, I don't really know anything.
Right.
Oh, I have to go get life experience first. I have to understand the world first. And really what it needs to be is write what you can find out.
Right.
Or write what you're interested in. Or write what you want to know.
Awesome. That's great advice.
Having a passion for it will keep you coming back through those times, like Matt said, where the writing is hard. If you don't have a passion for this, you'll just be somebody who wants to write a book rather than somebody who has written a book.
Yeah.
Even if that book doesn't sell, even if it's this horrible novel you throw in a trunk and you never look at again, it's done. You can move on to the second one, and maybe you'll sell the second one. Or you trunk that one and you work on your third one. Maybe you'll sell it. It doesn't matter. If you have a passion for this, you will keep doing it.
And see, I think I come at this at a different angle. Maybe. I don't know. Because I don't have a passion for writing. Because my thing is body language. So I'm
Passion for your topic.
right. I have a passion for the topic. I have a passion, and I've just lately revised who my audience is. My original audience.
You're going down to teens.
Exactly.
They're a ton of fun to work with. I
Exactly.
just figured that out.
Absolutely. So I originally my concept was my audience was adults, was sales professionals and blah blah blah. And then I look at my laundry list of books on the shelf. I'm like, well, there's one that does that. There's one that does that. There's one that does that. There's one. Why am I doing it? Nobody's talking to teens in the subject area that I am. So I'm like, so I just changed my. And when I changed that audience, for me, I was like,
Yeah.
That's really cool. And I think that's fantastic that you're doing that. But also remember, just because there are all these books, they haven't been written in your voice.
True.
other people's education and experience and not yours.
Yeah,
So-
hold your breath till you get an original idea.
Yeah,
I'll let you know.
Exactly, exactly. Well, and so you just touched on it, why it's taken me 20 years to do this, is that I'm self-taught. So now you and I talked about this whole self-think thing, right? So I'm self-taught. I started learning it and I don't want this all to be, but too late.
It's all right.
Too late. So, I started learning about 8th grade. So I self-taught. I was self-taught through high school. I started teaching my first class as a senior in high school at teen conference. And then I went into college. I went completely different direction. I went in broadcast technology and blah, 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 blah. Well, then I started teaching adults. And I found out that I actually know what the hell I'm talking about, right? And at that time, no one was really talking about body language in sales and communications and sales and selling yourself first. So I'm like, holy crap, I need to write a book. But I don't know anything about writing. I'm self-taught. So who the hell's, all of this negativity that is, I'm a schmuck from Norfolk, Idaho. Who the hell, blah, 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 blah. And so that's been that railroad track for 20-some years, right? And then I'm like, okay, no, it's time to shit or get off. It's either going to happen or it's not going to happen. And I sat down, I just started talking to my phone. And I'm like, I'm not even going to try to battle against my writer's issue, which is another BS thing that goes on. But I'm like, I'm not even going to touch it. I'm just going to start talking to my phone. And then I'm like, okay, we're getting something. But that's kind of the way I'm looking at this is I don't know if I have a passion to write, but I do have a passion to share what I have, my experiences, and I feel that this is a good medium to do that. Is that?
Okay, yeah.
I don't know.
I think maybe the idea
That's
is
fair.
that you have a passion to write, but I don't believe maybe calligraphists have a passion to write, right?
Okay,
Like
okay.
the idea
fair
is
enough.
I have a story I want to tell.
Right.
Teresa has a different story about Idaho City, Idaho that she wants to tell. Matt's got a story that he wants to tell that has nothing to do with a fictional universe at all.
Right.
I want to take characters that have already been established, have 40 years worth of history, and I want to tell stories with those characters. Right. That's not quite a passion to write, but it is the best way to tell most of our stories.
Right.
Just because that's our culture is rigged to work.
So let me ask you this. Okay, let's go down a different rabbit hole for a second. This right here, video medium, what we have available to us on our stinking phones now, right? I feel more comfortable sitting in front of a video camera and telling a story, but that's me. And this has taken me, seriously, I'm telling you guys, that right there has taken me 25 years to process that in myself and feel comfortable doing this. And I feel, seriously, I could just word throw up anytime in front of the camera, and so let me ask you this, is that if someone feels, how am I trying to ask this? Can this be as effective as writing a book, a novel, something like that? Technology, new things, I don't know. This is an open question. I don't know. And you can tell me no, yes, I don't care.
So it depends on the story.
Okay.
Because like creative writing, you are painting part of the picture for the reader, but they are providing a lot of details in their own mind. And so that's, I think, how this is different than creative writing.
So creative writing requires more imagination.
It's different. I think.
And you might not.
I believe that stories are necessary to the human condition. We have always had stories. There has never been a human society that does not tell stories, and stories get told in a lot of different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that you can say this way of telling a story is valid and this way is not. I think that you need to know your own medium,
Mm-hmm.
and you need to understand how you and your audience are interacting and what your audience expects of you.
Okay.
And then you need to do what works for you.
Okay.
Yeah, those 2 points of view cover that topic really well. I was disagreeing with Matt. I'm like, what about all of the cultures in our history that were strictly oral cultures with creative writing? I mean, you can read them now, but it's only because somebody wrote them down. These stories are traditionally orally told. So it's not just strictly creative writing, but certainly I don't think you can stand up and read the sound and the fury and get it across the way that book comes across in a printed format that you handle all of the language and the art of the written word in that way. I think they're two completely different things. But I think technology gives you a great opportunity to explore a whole new medium that is changing communication. And you probably know the statistics, because you're a statistics guy, about how much information will be conveyed through this platform, not specifically, but through video interaction. It's already skyrocketed exponentially year after year. It's still a growing field. So will it include artistic endeavors? You bet. It already does, and there's only more people coming to that table.
Well, and it's interesting that you bring that point up, is because there's so the statistics with live, specifically live streaming, is that by 2020, 2021, that 80% of our information we're going to be getting from live streaming when it comes to social media and media absorption. But there's an interesting trend right now, specifically with Google Talk and what's the Amazon one? Alexa. Yeah. So there's a lot of content creators that are jumping to the spoken, like podcasting specifically. And there's a lot of high producers that are saying, if you are a creative content creator, then I'm being redundant. I want to make sure everyone understands what I'm saying, is that they're saying go podcasting because of what Alexa and Google Voice and all that's doing, is that they're saying write creatively, but speak it so that do basically audiobooks. And it's interesting.
Which I love.
Right?
I love audiobooks.
The second golden age of the radio drama, yes, please.
Yeah, basically,
yes, please.
That's what I'm gathering from it, is that we're going full circle, baby, back to radio and doing the radio drama. Absolutely. But I'm waiting for Orson Welles to see if that whole thing happens again.
Yeah, and then there's a medium which I am highly invested in that relies on pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And there's another whole much bigger industry out there that relies on pictures, which doesn't convey, one, in a live setting at all well, or two, without a final finished project.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting how those fields adapt to this new market.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Michelle Miller says audio is back, and Juan is being a jerk face. Thanks, Juan.
Aww.
Juan says, Dale, you look much older than all sitting at the table. Just saying.
That's a compliment to those two, and he's my age, so maybe I'm just aging well.
Yeah.
So with that said, though, is Juan says we should take Kickassery on the road and do this on the road. That'd be a lot of fun. All right, Juan.
Dale's going to be traveling the country.
All right, we're okay.
The traveling asket.
Yeah, there we
He's
go.
already got this big ass motorhome.
I was just gonna say, we already have a motorhome.
Slap some decals on that bad boy.
Hit the road.
Kick ass and 8-foot letters down the
before we
side.
started, weren't we talking about the shiny squirrel syndrome? Okay, thanks, guys. Because now I'm sitting there going, could we do that? My wife's gonna kill me. Okay,
Juan's fault.
guys, yeah.
We've been good.
You know what? He's usually my number Juan, but he's not today. All right, so let's kind of wrap this up, is because we could do this for another hour and a half.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm hungry. So it's about me. I thought we've established this. Is that, what's your final piece of advice for those who are either just thinking that maybe this is kind of sort of something that they have a story to tell, they have, they don't feel comfortable with the camera, but they still have something they want to share. They do want to be a writer. Maybe they are currently writing. They're just not sure what the next step is. Or someone who is, I mean, give me a couple of things.
Okay. So what I would say is write if you want to write. You can learn to do anything. You don't have to be a good writer. You don't have to be good with computers. You don't have to have good penmanship. You don't have to know how to spell. You can learn to do anything, really. And I'm proof of that. And you can develop passion for anything. Once you get into something and you learn to be good at it, passion will come.
Mm-hmm.
Just having that, developing that skill and having some success will help you develop passion for something if you want to write.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm going to touch on that real quick, is that anything, it's PDR, practice, drill, rehearse. You know, if it's something you want to do, go do it. And it'll become easier and easier and easier. Video work. This 25 years ago, I would have been not just saying no, but hell no. This is not even an option, a process, and this is what I prefer to do. You know, so you're absolutely right.
I would say, first of all, almost everybody that I've talked to that has written something or created something great has said that they're not as good as everyone else because it took them so long to do. It just takes a long time. When you're learning a new skill, when you're learning something new and you're figuring out what you're doing, it takes a long time. And be okay with that. Be okay with your process. And then seek out people who are doing the thing that you're doing. Seek out people who are successful in your genre or what you're doing and find out what their process is and talk to them and listen to them. You know, follow them around like a little lost puppy dog like I did Carol Burke, and she took pity on me, and, you know, try to find mentors. That really, really helps. So.
Yeah, Theresa almost stole what I wanted to say, but find a group of people. My favorite writers groups are when the creative energy in the room, you can almost touch it. It's fantastic. And it will fill your creative cup right back up. I'm never more excited to go home and been like, dude, I gotta write something down tonight because I just sat for an hour and a half and we had this great creative brainstorming session or great creative writing exercise where they all sounded amazing. Why are we not all rich from doing this, right? So I really think that's important. The idea of a novelist, of writing in general, is very singular, you know. Oh, you lock yourself in a house and 3 months later you come out looking like Alan Moore and you have this brilliant novel. And it probably doesn't work like that for almost anybody.
Right.
I really think that this is a more healthy way to slog through the pains of writing. And now I'm going to talk about Katie Cooper's comment real quick on here. It's got a lot of big words in it, so Dale made me read it. I agree. Different learning, but I think the structure for teaching has really, don't yell at me later, stagnated in here's a textbook, open that thing, do problems 1 through 40, all of the evens, and turn it in tomorrow. That's learning, right? That's how I got taught, damn near everything. So I think there is right now a great opportunity if you want to teach kids to really reach them across the board for the way people actually learn and how each person may or may not learn differently.
You know, I think I just figured out how to fix all of this.
Okay, sure.
Right on.
You just write down kind of an outline of what you want, pay someone else to write it, and put your name on it. Done and done. We're done. Problem solved.
Small
So how
upfront
much-
fee.
Yeah, Done. All right, so this is, we'll go for another hour, but we're going to call this good. Guys, please share this out specifically with anyone that you know. If you're a writer, if you know people are writing, you want to encourage people to write, I really want you to do that. Once again, these guys are going to put all their contact info in. If you're watching this on the rewatch, please share as well. It's not just for the live people. And these guys are going to be here to answer questions, to give you feedback. And I'm loving this.
And to link resources.
Yes,
Because
absolutely.
we know we've done a lot of that legwork. Like if I want to know who I should read if I want to improve my outlook, I ask Matt.
There you go.
I still too.
No, not so much. Not so much. I'm here for comedy. So seriously, guys, I'm super excited about this. Thank you for hanging out with a very different live. This is really awesome. I love the interaction, and I truly appreciate you guys.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm seriously, this was I called them at the edge of town and said, I'm finally in town. Can we do this? And they're like, absolutely.
He butt dialed us and then called back a couple minutes later.
I
That's
think
actually
that
what
was,
happened.
never mind. So, but seriously, I really appreciate you guys at the drop of a dime coming down here, putting your stuff on hold, coming down here
You
and
bet.
do this.
Thank you.
This has been super
Yeah.
awesome. Super awesome. So I'm still on the road. This will probably be the kick-assery for the week, but that's okay. I'll do my follow-up on Friday. And you guys just keep kicking ass, keep smiling, because someone's going to need it. Talk to you guys soon. Say bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.